Live from the Mainstream Cannabis Media Empire, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Veedverks Unlimited Limited, better known as Veedverks.
I'm Micheael Miller, National and International Relationship Facilitator. If you want to get your products into Mexico or Europe, let me know. Contact at National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce. I'm with Panacea Life Sciences. That's panacealife.com.
Which of the three Mexicos can you export to?
You know what? Since that did come up, I've been on the phone quite often with Vicente Fox. First, I asked him, what Mexico were you president of? And he kind of chuckled, but I kind of like Middle Mexico.
Middle Mexico?
Yeah. What about you?
Never mind. I'll show you. Watch this. We're trying to set up. Are we going live with him this afternoon?
Yes, this afternoon. What? I just got confirmation. Not on the time yet.
Really?
But I think it's going to be I know. I think it's going to be
I'm not putting on a tie twice in one day, Micheael.
I know. I think it's going to be at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll see. He's in Las Vegas right now, so it kind of works really well for us. And he's got the technical guy there that can
and he knows what time zone he's in.
Yeah. Well,
and what
I hope so.
We're in?
Yeah. I told him 4:30 Mountain Standard Time, and they're at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. It is an hour difference, right? Mm-hmm. Vegas, yeah. So I got it right.
Okay. Yay. Well, so maybe we'll pull it off.
Yeah, I think we might.
Pull it off. So yeah,
we're pulling it off.
Yes, we're sitting here with Larisa Bolivar.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the show, Larisa.
Thank you, Micheael.
Yay.
Thank you for having me.
Bolivar Hemp Company, right?
Bolivar Hemp Company.
Good.
Yes.
Perfect.
Bolivar or
Bolivar.
It depends on where you're at in the country. Bolivar. Bolivar. Bolivar is like how they say it in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Bolivar.
Yeah.
In Missouri.
So we'll get into what you're doing in the industry right now. I always like to start off with a lot of people in their past life, they brought whatever skill set that they had into here. Like myself, I consulted for 17 years Better Business Bureaus and 10 years Chamber of Commerce's. That's why after BioTrack, I launched the National Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, which in a month or two, it's going to be the international. So what did you do prior to the industry?
So I started my professional career as a technical recruiter.
Okay.
And I staff primarily government contracts in the DC area,
nice.
Software contracts. I also worked during the Y2K and .com craze.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect, I was in my, early 20s. I got really lucky, and worked with some really great companies. Yeah. One is called STG. They're a government contracting firm that I got to see grow from a small startup operation to having their own building now.
Yeah.
I left when they had a floor in the NRA building in Fairfax.
Oh, really?
So it was it was a very corporate type of environment. And then I came to Colorado and started growing weeds.
Yay.
In 2001.
Yeah. You really?
Yeah. And then I left in 2008 and worked for a company called GridPoint, which was $1 billion valuated clean tech startup.
Right.
And I did marketing for them. And I call that my $1 billion education because I, again, got to sit in a company when they went from startup to corporate, and then they were bought out after I left, but they were bought out by a company that buys utilities.
Okay.
And one of their managing partners was the founder of GridPoint. And so there I learned a lot about energy policy, which actually correlates with cannabis policy, especially on the hemp side.
Sure.
Met people like James Woolsey, who was an advisor to our board, which was really interesting.
Nice.
We had national security advisors. We also had like Vint Cerf, who, the godfather of the internet, because the company bids itself as an Internet of All Things because of the connectivity.
Okay.
High-tech stuff. So it's just really interesting to be in cannabis and to see how the industry is evolving and emerging, and how these different things come into play, whether for me or whether how I see the landscape forming. I've essentially worked in 3 emerging industries.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting times.
You mentioned Y2K. That was like not having a happy ending. You know what? Honestly, the sky was going to fall. Everything was going to crash. All computer systems worldwide.
I worked
Did
24
anything
hours
happen?
sometimes.
Were you?
I know a guy
I
who
went skiing
stockpiled
and
chocolate and
got
toilet
drunk.
paper. No shit.
Really?
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. Really.
You love chocolate?
I didn't
love
stockpile it. I
chocolate.
just said I know a guy.
Oh,
No, I didn't do shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I went skiing.
Yeah.
Got drunk.
Nice. That's just crazy. You know, Y2K.
Y2K.
Yeah.
But it was a very real thing. And what the challenge was most of our government at the time was built on COBOL mainframes, where was it? Was it? Anyhow, where there was only certain type of software programs that people could use to help rescue these dinosaurs. I don't even think it was called software back then. So we had to find people who were in retirement, essentially, who had top secret SCI clearances or above, because they're accessing information as they're switching over to more modern technology and fixing this time stamp thing, the issue that was happening. So it was a rush to find, one company I worked at, we called them purple squirrels, because I'm like, oh my God. And working under the GS schedule, I'm like, you want me to find this with this qualification, and pay them what? But that's what I became talented for that, because I was born and raised there. I have a large network there.
In the DC
area?
Yeah.
And so, and I just pulled from, my network. And, they say your network is your net worth, and I absolutely believe that.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah. So my ex, I married my weed guy, and that's how I got into cannabis. He convinced me to move out here. He moved out here and started growing in the late 90s. Amendment 20 passed, and he convinced me to move out here. And 9/11 happened, and I was going to open an office up for a company that I had worked for, that he had worked for as well as an account manager. And when 9/11 happened, they decided to take that whatever funding they have, and with sense. I didn't have any hard feelings. They went to go chase more lucrative anti-terror contracts.
Sure.
And so that left me without my network in Colorado. And so I went, I was telling Travis about this earlier. I went from people calling me, like my friends would get a job at a company and be like, hey, Larisa, I just got a job here. Come on over here. We're hiring. To not knowing a single person here and getting hired. I got a job offer at a company almost an hour away without traffic, And so I started working at a makeup counter called Origins. I had to beg my job. They're like, wait a minute, you were like making close to six figures, and now you want to, or on that pathway.
We got to do what we got to do.
I was like, it was really hard to get a job because people didn't want to, they didn't think I'd stay, because at such a low rate. At the time, I was like, hey, I need to pay bills, and meanwhile, my ex-husband's convincing me, to grow weed for like multiple people as a caregiver. He had met the founder of the 420 rally who helped get Amendment 20 passed, Ken Gorman, who was also a caregiver. And, I made the switch. And so it's really interesting to combine the two. But yeah, that was the long 18 years in this insane, game. I took a small break between 2008 and 2013 to
I
decompress.
I was visiting my offices during 9/11 in New Jersey, and it was just horrifying.
Scoot you up a little bit. I'm sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, it was just so sad, and you could see the smoke from hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
But New Jersey's right there, and it was just
It's
tough time in American history right there.
It was. That day was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I couldn't. My whole family is from the DC area, and I couldn't get through, and they said it was.
You guys are lucky because they could have hit DC just as easy. The White House itself.
They were trying.
Well, I think maybe the
Pentagon's in DC.
In Pennsylvania.
Right?
I think so too.
The one, that would,
Yeah.
I mean, that is really the one that would have been more devastating, I think, than anything else. Even the Twin Towers, not the death of people, but that's like hitting your breadbasket.
Oh, well, this is the intent of the terror of the war on their side. And analysts have shown that they want to demoralize us, and that's part of any type of strategy of war. It's an unfortunate thing, but here we are far away from that, and with a freaking multi-billion, potentially, I would argue, trillion-dollar industry, because if you bring in hemp, and then you bring in the whole umbrella of the possibilities of what hemp can do.
It's beautiful.
For industry, it's just crazy. And so I feel like our country is looking at the beginning of a major injection economically for growth if we work it well, play it well, because right now it's kind of frustrating to see that, you have Canada, and we were talking about, the 3 Mexicos, and
of course
I like East Mexico or
it has
the
to be
Yucatan Peninsula.
Okay. Well, then, you know what? I've never been on the Western Mexico,
You guys have,
so maybe
all right, I'm
West.
pulling this up.
What? Yeah, pull it up.
The
You guys
Yucatan
keep
is
it.
east.
Yeah. I've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I've never been on the West
Me
Coast.
neither. Maybe I would love that
I hear
too.
it's really it's got issues now, but it's really beautiful.
Well, that's I haven't been to Cancun. I have I'm a member of a resort there.
Oh,
And
cool.
Once I saw the violence breaking out, I was like,
even in Cancun and Cozumel.
Cancun,
I
yeah.
know. I don't get it. Oh no! We just lost the 3 Mexicos.
We just lost the 3 Mexicos.
Maybe I
Easy
accidentally.
come, easy go.
Oh, maybe it's.
Oh,
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Technical difficulties.
Maybe that's
Okay.
it. Well, it was almost going to work.
Well, explain what we
Like
can't
this,
see.
and then like that,
Yeah.
and so there's East Mexico,
Yeah.
Central Mexico, and West Mexico.
Okay. If you want to,
Fox-
if you want to slice it this way and not that way,
Oh, well, that's true. I hadn't thought about it
Yeah.
that way.
we need to find out from the person who discovered there was 3 Mexico to get the lowdown on, what segments of Mexico is what. It's just hard to decide what part of Mexico,
And
it's
the
so
cuisine.
big. Yeah. Actually, I always stayed away from the water, and then I'm looking at my drink, with ice in it. But then I'm thinking, well, the alcohol will kill whatever out in the ice. But I've had some really good food down there. I really have.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I may go and visit. I need some beach time.
Yeah,
I want to
you
go to
and me
Mexico
both.
City. Yeah, I can't be away from the beach for.
It's one of the hardest things I have with Colorado. I was fortunate enough to live on the intercoastal or beach most of my adult life, and it's just not to have it.
Yeah.
The first time I moved here, a bunch of friends were saying, "Hey, we're going to go to the beach." I go, "What airline?" But they were talking about Cherry Creek
I
Reservoir.
know, right?
It's like, what the hell are you talking about?
And then when you see sailboats on reservoirs, I'm like,
Yeah. I mean, it's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, yeah.
Absolutely. But, oh my goodness. Yeah. I love the ocean.
yeah, and that's all air. I miss it. What, so
check that out.
We are okay. Okay, so there's Trump cuts
Excuse me.
to 3. What?
Well, I'm telling you what,
That's real.
for the Trump haters, I think they
I
hate him
couldn't
more.
I couldn't trust anything that I saw yesterday.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust
Oh, April Fools. Yeah.
because of April Fools. But I think that this.
Is this real?
I think.
Oh yeah. Well,
think
who
this
said
is-
it? Who said there was 3 Mexicos?
No, it's March 31st. It was published.
Okay, so it wasn't an April Fool's joke.
No, it was. Trump cut U.S. aid to 3 Mexican countries. So that's what I'm saying.
It's South American is what it is. I think Guatemala and a couple others.
Yeah, it's
That
Guatemala,
must be.
Honduras.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
El Salvador.
Yeah.
But none of them are Mexican countries. We could ask.
We're all
Yeah,
Mexican.
that can't lie.
You know who
but
we should
we're-
ask about this? Is Vicente Fox.
Yeah. We will.
Yes.
Today, 4:30 Mountain Standard Time.
4:30.
I'm almost positive. He will be on
Almost
today.
positive, but we're going to be back on at 4:30 Mountain in the U.S.
Yeah. Well, is it the
Is
U.S.?
there a different time zone in each Mexico?
You know
Like,
what?
Maybe that's the 3
Is there a
Mexicos?
Mexican mountain time zone? And if so, are there like 3?
Well, there's 3 United States. You got the East, the Midwest, and the West,
In
right?
the West, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been across this country back and forth all over
Yeah.
the place. That is actually true, and a little bit up north too. We
Yeah.
may even be 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And because there's California,
Yeah.
and California can be 2 countries.
Easily. Yeah. So,
Wait,
3
so
Mexicos.
You're from that Mexico called, or not from it, but your people come from
Mexico
called Peru.
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Which is way south. You have
Machu
to go
Picchu.
through 2 other Mexicos.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of...
There's actually, yeah.
So in Peru, they've got a lot of like drug cartel stuff going on, and tons of just drug war related stuff. And so your family grew up, and you grew up being very conservative.
Well, exposed to that in a sense, and having my dad. So my dad's an immigrant from Peru, and he moved here seeking asylum in 1969. 1968, there was a regime change. It changed things, and there were a lot of uncertainties, and he wanted something better for his family. So he immigrated to D.C.
Nice.
He's now a naturalized citizen.
Nice.
And he moved his entire family here, and I even helped sponsor. My parents divorced. My mom's American European descent, and I sponsored my dad remarried a Peruvian woman. I even sponsored some of my stepbrothers and sisters, one of which is a career Marine.
Oh, nice.
And so, but I do have some black sheep in the family. I have 100 cousins, so it's kind of hard to manage all of them. And I'm one of the oldest, and one of the other oldest was deported from this country on kingpin charges.
Really?
Yeah, like he was running at the time around $80 to $100 million worth of coke up and down the east and west coast.
Where was he?
So my dad banned me for all of us were like, no, you can't talk to him because just can't.
He was the most interesting,
he was
though,
the
right?
most interesting. Yes. Me? No, yeah. Our families, our dynamics are very interesting.
Yeah.
My mom, on the other hand, worked for Arlington County Police Department in Northern Virginia.
Wow.
For vice narcotics for 30 years.
That's funny.
So, and my dad is very, he wanted me, just like any other little girl, I wanted to be, a ballet dancer,
Sure.
A ballerina, a princess, something.
sure.
And my dad's like, no, you're going to be a businesswoman, a lawyer, a doctor, like that, that's it. And
But not a pot baron? What's up with that?
Oh my God. Well, now he's rethinking things. Now he's like, wait a minute, hija, you're onto something. And so, because I fought that hard for, because battling both of my parents who, I was raised in 2004
Right.
and I wasn't doing anything illegal. I wasn't even charged because of civil
Right.
asset forfeiture. I didn't have my day in court. But I had to call my mom and tell her that I'd been raided. And Arlington Police Department is, we were talking about this earlier, they're a federalized department. They're in they border DC, so they that's a major area, and you've got a lot of agencies around there.
Sure.
And my mom has awards from some of those agencies, and so
Here's her
she worked on the
little daughter.
administrative side, but she did a lot of analytical stuff, and
Yeah.
so she helped with some major cases and stuff,
Sure.
and found some really dangerous people and got awarded for it. So so here's her daughter. So I called her the day after I got raided, and she's like. I literally was like, oh my God. And, and when I met, I knew it was medicine. I started consuming when I was 15.
Right. Same here.
Really? Just not during the day.
Well, wake and bake Saturday morning to Sunday night.
Best. Yeah, that's the best. I love wake and bake. Yeah.
On Saturday mornings,
every morning, but
Somebody write a song about that.
What?
What's it going to take for somebody to start writing good country songs?
Wake and bake.
No, people are doing it.
Wake and bake.
It'll happen.
Some music.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
With your coffee or tea.
I couldn't wake and bake without you.
I love that.
So my mom, that was really interesting. But for me, so I actually worked for the chief of police. That was my first job.
Where? Here?
In Arlington
Oh,
County.
really?
Yeah, and I knew then I didn't want to be a cop because I had, childhood trauma and had undiagnosed PTSD and, ADD. I don't like labels so much.
Well,
but
I have the alphabet here.
Yeah, they all kind of go together, and and very type A. I think that all goes together, and you just need to be focused. And cannabis focused me, and I went from getting terrible grades to better grades, and being able to socialize better with people. And my mom tried everything to get me to stop. She even tried putting me in inpatient rehab because she was completely bought and sold on the gateway theory. That's what they're taught in law enforcement. And so, and my dad, I didn't even have the courage to tell my dad everything. My parents are divorced. They still talk, but we're all grown. So it's not like they talk all the time. He hated my ex-husband. So I my family.
He's the one who got you in trouble.
I was engaged to a wealthy engineer, was living in Ashburn, Virginia, in a nice townhouse, and living that almost Stepford wife type of thing, to that not working out so much and marrying my weed guy. And my dad really, I met my ex-fiance through my family. Right. And so it wasn't like an arranged marriage, but it was like, hey, this is someone we really like. So calling my dad and having that conversation, after we were raided, we were home invaded. We had a drive-by and we were home invaded because the media, I did all of this work. I helped shepherd the first few thousand patients with a group of people through the registry before there was even a program. And when I met my first few patients, I used to be kind of I wasn't shallow. I was never a shallow person or even selfish, but I was very distant from suffering. I wouldn't even say privileged, but I was working in a very secure career, making good money, partying all the time. I just didn't even think about human suffering. I was 25 when I moved here, and I'm 42 now. When I met my first few patients, I couldn't even believe how people could lose everything from being sick. I was like, in this country? You're kidding me. And then the types of illnesses, again, being 25, 26, 27, getting into this, I wasn't as exposed to different diseases and different ailments. And so it really shook me to the core. And it became a passion. And, even after we got raided, it was I was so scared.
I can imagine.
There wasn't a shock and awe. They knocked on the door, didn't have a search warrant, and invoked the Patriot Act. And I'm like, but wait a minute, I used to staff, DOD, state, all these major, top secret above contracts. I'm not a terrorist. And my ex-husband was like, how does weed from my basement, an eighth of marijuana, get to a person in a wheelchair, get to Al-Qaeda? We were like, well, how does this even, what is going on? But it was real Wild West then. And we passed Amendment 20. And
so did they arrest you right then? Or
they
no?
Didn't even arrest us. They told us to come in the next day and get fingerprinted. It was the most bizarre.
That's beautiful, though.
After they took everything.
I mean, it's so dramatic, but it's better than getting handcuffed and taken in the backseat.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And, I will never forget the anxiety of that moment. And then the next day of having, calling my mom. And then that's when we were under the radar. It was never our intention to be in the media or get attention for what we were doing. But when we got raided, the Denver Post put this little thing about this couple gets raided with 800 plants. We had 80. And so at the time, so when I was working at Origin Skincare, at a table, I got discovered by a makeup artist who introduced me to another makeup artist on Bobby Brown's cosmetics beauty team. Started working there. Started working with Laura Mercier, beauty team, and managing counters and what have you, and doing shows. And when I got raided, when they put that out on the article, I lost a lot of business. I was I was a freelance makeup artist. I had my own business, and so they didn't even have to call me for another job. I understood. I went to
that sucks.
Well, because marijuana wasn't cool then. If that would have happened now, people would be like, "Oh yeah, here, we'll give you a job."
Well, you'd get more jobs.
I get more jobs.
Yeah, you're on the front line. Yeah.
Yes.
So is my forehead shiny?
Travis is gonna get powder. We're gonna get him powder.
Mr. GQ right here.
Tips before the show. Which that's why.
Also, Josh Whitaker said that you guys switched sides. Now we get to see Michael's good side. But do you feel like we switched sides?
We've never switched sides.
We've never switched
I think
sides.
Josh, I follow Josh. I follow, I follow his posts. I don't know if...
I think
he's all there.
I think Josh might. Oh, he's the guy who's bringing out the CBD infused lead paint chips.
I love that. But
Is that him?
Well, he's got it in multiple flavors.
He's got the CBD.
He's got the CBD.
I guess we shouldn't be railing on him because we should be nice to him though.
He's been on the show.
He's just changed his mind about you. He's been looking at your good side this whole time.
Well, I've been on this side the whole time.
Somebody should write a song about that.
I don't know. Does he smoke?
Who?
Josh.
I don't know.
I don't
Josh,
know.
do you smoke?
I've known him forever. Josh, let everyone know the 10 million people viewing right now if you get high. And also, Jenny Gold, post your GoFundMe,
Jenny Gold,
please.
Post your link.
Yep, GoFundMe link. Get it done, girl. Get it done.
Jimmy Smurs, thanks for joining.
Oh, Rob.
Micheael,
Ron.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ron Kolb's on.
Lewis.
Ron, I love you.
Boy, you're
Mike
bringing a
Webb
lot of
from
people.
Kansas.
Michael Kahneman Gonzalez.
Bubba Zarodnik. Bubba, we're going to start getting Bubba.
What is it with our show?
There's so many
I
friends
can't
on
believe
here.
we actually have people that
LS
view us.
Love, Max Gruber, Micheael,
Or Bubba, should say.
Amber Wan, Michael. No, I didn't know there were going to be
Rick,
so many
Kurt.
people because
I know.
I've never actually done it. Amber, thanks. Reed Allen.
I forgot to
was
do
up.
the share.
Camino. Hey, Camino. We're going to do that Empire stuff.
Wayne
We're gonna
Austin is in the
I
house.
love you, Amy.
You know what?
Amy who?
Amy.
Oh, Amy Sharp. Amy Sharp. She's so sweet. You gotta say it twice though.
I
You
know.
gotta say
Amy
Amy
Sharp.
Sharp. Amy
So
Sharp.
sweet.
We love Amy
Yeah, she
Sharp.
is. And Devin, her husband's great
I
Hey,
know,
people.
what
they're
is
great
up?
people.
Yeah,
All
they
right.
really are.
All you guys, we are going to be interviewing
Oh, hey, Nick.
Vicente Fox.
This afternoon sometime.
afternoon.
Órale.
Yeah.
Probably at 4:30.
We'll have our diagrams
Former
ready.
president of the three Mexicos.
I keep on forgetting, and I don't think we should actually use that word, but what is it when you go to a psychiatrist and you see the blots?
Rorschach.
Oh, ink. Rorschach. Yeah.
He might not know
yeah.
or understand what that is,
But-
but you know, we should do that.
Yes.
One will be a
What I can-
fence.
What I can
And then the next one, a ladder. The next one, the fence on the ladder. See if he can get them all right. And then the final Jeopardy question, he's got to tell us about the three Mexicos.
Did you hear that people were stealing pieces of the wall to use for security for their private properties
Really?
in Mexico?
Of course they would. Why not?
I laughed.
That's awesome.
Isn't it? Yeah. We'll get the lowdown.
Maybe all these Mexicans are running across the border so that they can vote in favor of the wall, and they're trying to get a ton of copper in the wall.
Or just the metal for roofs and
Valuable.
buildings. Yeah,
Take that
Yes.
shit.
yeah.
Yeah, sell that shit on the black market with everything else.
You got California and all these other people letting the illegal aliens vote and drive, which I don't care. It's whatever. Well, anyways. But yeah, to steal the parts on the wall. I mean,
Yes.
you know, that's a huge wall. That can make a lot of homes. You know?
Yeah, well, they're taking the razor wire, and you know, I mean, I have to be fact checked on this, but I did read an article on this, and I was in tears. I was like, "That's great."
No. We can't be held accountable for anything
Did Trump
that we
even say that about the wall?
What?
He said that it had to be a big wall
Yeah,
that looked
yeah.
pleasing from the U.S. side.
U.S. side so high, and yeah.
Is the rumor true that he's going to be like the steel manufacturer? There's like a steel baron in Russia that's going to be providing the materials
know.
for the wall. I read that there's some sort of financial interest.
Well, that would be Dick Cheney. He's got his hands in
He's
all
got his-
that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Usually
Still alive?
militarily, yeah. Well, the company
He
that
owns
he's
half
on
the world. No,
Yeah.
at least half the. When you drive like through the United
Government
States,
contracts,
especially in the
everything,
middle
yeah.
of nowhere,
Yeah.
it's like nothing, grass, Halliburton.
Yeah.
You're like, Jesus, and it's like you can almost hear boom, like it's just so imposing and like, you know, empire.
Yeah.
It's the empire.
It's a war machine.
I think
Halliburton.
Wyoming is where I'm thinking, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty intense.
Yeah.
Well, let's
So
replace
I
some of it
don't,
with
you
the
know,
peace
my
machine.
family. I come from a family of immigrants, and you know, we're also indigenous, and I just can't help but see this as a war on brown people. And you know, not to be sensationalist as a brown woman, I feel that.
And me as a brown guy, my mom was an immigrant. I am. I'm half Japanese. So, or yellow, if you want to just be racist over there. No, I'm teasing. What?
It's your tie.
That's it. That's why I wear it.
You know, they're hardworking, good people that come here,
Sure.
and the problems I think that are facing Latin America aren't just immigration; it's our intervention in governments down there for special interests. And
Oh,
to me, that's what
100%.
it is.
Yeah.
You have the drug war, then you have governments that are being propped up and for special interests. It's all over resources,
Mm-hmm.
which is again why I think hemp is so phenomenal. Is because for the first time in history, we have something that we can recreate resources with. And then you add that with like 3D printing and all kinds of, like, we're building things almost out of nothing.
Right.
I mean, you still need resources to do that, but hemp is a renewable resource that can replace a lot of things. But then, just legalizing cannabis. I advocate for legalizing all drugs because we took away over 30% of the business from cartels in Mexico, for cannabis just by legalization.
People are taking cannabis into Mexico now.
Yeah.
Because we got the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. and it's so damn cheap now.
Yeah, they pulled over. Did you read that about it?
Yeah.
People want to say the black market comes from, here's something that you'll, because the whole banning of the home grows. They want to say that diversion comes from home grows. I'm like, no, it's so easy to go to all these different stores, and the whole sweet leaf issue with looping exposed that this does happen, but you don't have to go to the same store. You can go to 16 different stores, buy an ounce in each store. You got £1 a day. Next thing you know, you got 30 pounds, and you're sending it to a state that you can flip it for more than double.
Oklahoma. They seized my semi, so Oklahoma.
Was that yours?
Well, it's Panacea's.
Yeah.
Finally, they'll let those guys out of jail.
Yeah, but not the semi. But we don't even want the product
silly.
now.
No, because it's gross. It's just been sitting in there.
Yeah, that and probably been rained on, snowed on, and
can you sue?
There's things going on behind it.
I'd be furious.
Yeah,
I heard they pulled a semi over driving south through Texas with cannabis.
Just cannabis?
Cannabis or hemp?
No, with hemp. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
THC?
No, I don't know. No,
THC cannabis.
That's not a very good news story. I should think about that.
0.5 or higher, or 0.3, above 0.3 cannabis. That's big debate. People are like, well, there's marijuana and there's hemp. But I'm like, marijuana is a slang term. Like, it's all cannabis sativa, or it's all cannabis. Hemp is cannabis sativa L. And it varies in, THC levels. Let's just try to figure out the vernacular, because like on the marketing side, it's a cost with labels, or with, if you're writing and you have to figure out, your SEO. But I believe that they're starting, like, marijuana is recognized as cannabis. Like, when you search it online now, they're starting to fix some of that. But it's still, when I see hemp versus marijuana, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. I'm like, oh, that's not right. And I have friends that are non-cannabis that call me confused all the time. They're like, what's legal, what's not? Can this ship out, can this not?
Do you ever use it in just trying to explain it to somebody, though? Like, to speak in their vernacular? Like, look,
layman's term?
You've got marijuana.
Yeah.
And
one's more industrial
and then
than
by
the
the
other,
end of it, get them through to the point where now call it cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hemp is cannabis sativa L with less than 0.3% delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol on a dry weight basis.
There you go. There you go.
But it's all cannabis. I want to put. I'll tell you what.
Cannabinoid.
Can I?
Of which there's over.
No, I'm not going to reveal the news yet.
Reveal what?
I'm thinking about race cars, and I want to talk about it.
Let's throw down everything. Talk.
The racing stripes down the side of a race car. I want to, or like the flames or something that would go down.
You're gonna put.
I want to just make it.
We have art on here. This is a fun show.
You know what I'm talking about.
We're crazy. Yeah, I saw that last show. Yeah.
That looked like. Yeah, but I'm really thinking about it now.
What, for the car?
Thinking about racing.
Yeah.
But when you're talking to racing people, sometimes you say y'all.
Y'all.
Yep.
You have to say y'all.
If you lived in Texas for 17 years.
Or the South. Y'all.
Talk to him long enough that pretty soon you're going to be. Y'all be saying y'all a little bit more too.
I think y'all is a good word.
We say it up in Virginia, and
we say it in South Florida,
but we have so many
Georgia,
transplants there. Yeah, it's just normal. Yeah, you say it all.
Y'all, well, you're from Louisiana. Yeah. Can't get much more country than that. No. Yeah, it is. I love New Orleans, though.
It is a beautiful place.
Yeah, to visit.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of humidity. My hair. I stay in Colorado for vanity reasons. Everybody wonders why I stay here. It's
why? Because go to Florida, that thing will just curl up. Boom. Yeah.
Are you wearing powder on your head?
No.
Did you know about this head powder?
No, but that could be the THC coming out of your forehead. Right?
Oh, it does.
That made you self-conscious.
It is starting to.
They make a translucent powder, guys, that you can put on your face.
There you go.
Protect from the
That's what I
glare.
meant to do.
We still need to do
I
that.
was telling Travis about that. I was putting powder on, and now he's all self-conscious.
Yeah.
But
Well, I just
think
said
your
it hadn't
forehead's
occurred
fine.
to me.
I
'Cause-
have a big forehead, so I'm always like really, and I have a scar.
Oh, stop. That's cute.
From all the stress in the cannabis industry.
I mean, a lot of people, they think it's all so sexy, this industry, which parts of it is. It's fun and everything else, but there's a lot of issues in our industry, not just from the federal government, but from the people from within. I tell people, I consulted Better Business Bureaus nationally for 17 years, and I knew every scam that was going on in the country. I'm telling you what, I hear more horror stories in this industry than the 17 years I consulted Better Business Bureaus, especially on the hemp, CBD, raw good side. Just people not being honest. When I first got in the industry 7 years ago, it was much smaller. And I was on the marijuana side, and you just took a person for their word, and it was true. Now I've been lied to my face from this far away so many times. It's ridiculous.
Lied to, taken
going around,
stepped on, circumvented everything. It's it's a green rush. And when you think about what happened during the gold rush, there were a lot of people. I mean, people were murdering each other. And that's just the Wild West. And so, but we have a very unique opportunity because we're creating a new industry. And it's not like other industries. It's not like it was the .com industry that, emerged from technology or any other type of tech is a great example of where something was created where other, ancillary markets were there to fill in.
Right.
We have that here. But what makes this unique is that this is emerging from 80 years of prohibition.
Right.
And we have people who were pretty much, lives destroyed for doing what people are doing now legally. And it's pretty astounding to me that there are people in prison right now for something that others are making millions for. And, it doesn't stop me from being an entrepreneur, but it makes me, that's why I work on the social equity side so hard. I'm not trying to create divisive politics. I've been accused of pulling the race card and this and just, but it's not that. It's for me, I'm a compassionate person in my core. And I feel
that goes without saying. We can tell that.
Thanks. And I feel like we have to right this wrong because also I want us to look good. I feel responsible. Sensi Magazine recognized me as a pioneer, and I do feel responsible for this industry. This was handed to me by people who started it, and in the late '60s, and this is to them it was a revolution, and this is why my branding for the Bolivar Hemp Company has a lot. It has the revolutionary theme, is because not only is the name Bolivar associated with revolution, but that's been this movement. We are changing a paradigm, and it's happening really quickly, but it's taken a long time to get to, and that's the very definition of revolution. It doesn't have to be bloody, but it has been. This is a declared war. This is something that people, the profundity really, I don't think a lot of, especially newer people coming in, don't understand. That those of us who've been in this 10 years or longer have been at war.
Sure.
And we bear the scars of war. So to come in and to take from that, you're coming in and taking from people who literally laid their lives down. My mentor was murdered. They still haven't found his murder. Yeah. Wow. They interviewed everybody in his circle, even my ex-husband at the time. I had already left my
Here
ex-husband.
in Colorado?
Yeah.
Wow. And
they still haven't found who did it. We have our own conspiracies. We think maybe even law enforcement or political, because he was such an insidious character in a funny way. He had this show called, are we allowed to curse on here?
Yeah.
Okay. He had a show called Asshole of the Week on the Uncle Nasty show. So every week, every Friday, somebody would call a voicemail and report a public official that they didn't like. And then Ken would talk about them on, I think it was on Wednesdays, on the Uncle Nasty show, 106.7, and bash them. And then the 420 rally was created as a social justice movement to expose the issues that the drug war created in, underserved, disadvantaged communities. So, lots of enemies there. And then, of course, we have the black market that did not like us getting media or emerging cannabis into the light of day, because we did help drop prices, the price fixing in a black market results in battles that are different than boardrooms, right? And courtrooms. And so they involve guns, and you really have to be very protective. So those days, we're literally a war, and there's a lot of people, a lot of women too. You know, we some of us call ourselves kitchen witches, because during those days we were cultivating cannabis and making products. You know, I made topicals back in those days, and learning how to formulate, even back then when the internet wasn't as prolific as it is now and information is everywhere, trying to figure out how do you make a product that's not so green looking, that doesn't agitate the skin. Do you use bubble hash? Is there other extraction methods?
Sure.
And my ex-husband making hash oil with the butane, and just nobody walking in, everybody stay away type. these
boom,
this is how this industry emerged. True. And now watching the innovation is fascinating. I've worked in different industries, and that's what makes industry fascinating, is for me the ideas that people are able to come up with and monetize and grow. And there's just so much happening. But I feel like we should really focus harder. Even here in Colorado, we're having a hard time. We have the Sunset Bill review recently, and we're trying to get people, trying to reduce the barriers so that we can have more people of color and people who are impacted by the drug war in general to be cannabis business owners. But yet the recommendation was to reduce, instead of removing the 5-year requirement on having a criminal charge, a cannabis charge, they're like, well, we'll change it to 3. But then you have other states, and there's even the
California,
Marijuana Justice Act, all of it.
Yeah.
And then the Marijuana Justice Act of 2019, which is Cory Booker's bill, which I really support because it just seems to be the most open bill, would expunge all federal charges, records. So I think we really need to look at this industry as something that's different and unique. And I understand the other side of the conversation. When I talk to investors and attorneys all the time, and on the business development side, and on the social equity side, they'll bring up issues. They don't like that that there's rules that the social equity candidate has to maintain 51% ownership, and they'll say, is there a workaround on that? And I'm like, no, this is intended to help empower people. Well, what about those who have proven to run a profitable company? I'm like, well, you're there to instruct. This is to empower people, not to, so we have different somebody's here. We have different business mentalities. We have some people who look at capitalism as a winner takes all, zero sum game. And I think that's what's coming into this space, are people who, back to your point, don't have a good ethical core.
Sure. And
they'll win at all costs. And it's a sport and not human lives. And I think that, then on the other spectrum, you have people who are compassionate, and it's just getting those two worlds to meet, and then we can set a better example.
I mean that, and the longer you're in this industry, you can navigate through all that, and get your alliances or relationships in order of the people that you feel comfortable in dealing with, and that's where I'm at now, and I'm sure you are as well.
Exactly.
Once in a while, one sneaks in. Just push them out real quick. But
I've learned that I've had to build lots of barriers. Or,
absolutely.
Or is that what they are when you? And I have had people just completely take advantage, and you heal from those wounds. It kind of hurts to be used, but then you grow from that, and people launching their careers off of my hard work. But I'm not the only person, and you can't sit and harp on that. And I've learned that. I used to get so mad and go on social media, this person, just vague book, and just get real mad. I'm like, this is stupid. I just need to know. So
vague booking is stupid. I'm over that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's just.
What is so stupid?
Vague booking, posting about stuff, and now I think it should be more provide instruction and informational. Just be, cultivate people in general, and that's been my new approach. But I still get kind of irritated because I feel like we can be better, all of us.
Amen. Even myself.
we need to be more inclusive, and I think we need to honor.
Me too. I'm sorry. What?
Am I just?
What?
No, I'm sorry. I was doing a gag for the camera.
Oh, you were like making faces while we're talking about serious.
Probably.
I'm sorry.
Probably.
I'm sorry.
No. I'm just checking my email for Vicente.
That's what I thought.
Okay.
Because Vicente Fox is supposed to be gone later.
I want to be able to give a
that's
time
fine.
out.
That's totally
all.
fine.
I want to be able to give a time.
No, we have to coordinate all of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that we just have to really be cognizant of what we want to look like 100 years from now. You know, looking back, can we be proud? Are we leaving a good legacy?
I love that.
People?
You're right.
You know, right now the win is, you know, being on top and making all the money. But I think the longer game is creating something that we can be proud of, that our grandchildren, nieces and nephews, that our progeny can be like, that was great. Look, they were able to make capitalism work. Because right now you have people say, no, capitalism sucks. And I don't fully buy into that. I think that behavior needs to be rewarded. I have a degree in psychology, which makes all of this a circus to me, by the way, because I see through all the behavior. And you can't just, I mean, like sometimes I make mistakes too. I'm not perfect, but I'm like this often where I'm like, you know, just the sharks and the liars and that, you know, but... you know, I think that as we grow, the cream does rise to the crop, and I have faith that, you know, we can create a model industry.
Yeah. I think it's really on its way to that. You know, it's just the issues of, you know, the potential of what this industry can provide.
Yeah.
You know, to the individual, not to the patient, but I'm talking about the people in it.
Yeah.
Or wanting to come into it.
Yeah. Oh God, there's so much opportunity. Yeah. I tell people all the time, bring your skill set in. If you're in marketing, accounting, you know, bring that skill set in, because the more that comes in, the more that it legitimizes and grows our space. But then on the technology side, you know, the more everything that feeds the infrastructure. You know, you look at Rockefeller and how he became, you know, a billionaire.
He was an extractor, right?
He was an extractor, exactly. But then he also
was
controlled.
He really?
Yeah.
What kind?
Huh?
Extracting
Oil.
what?
Petroleum.
Petroleum.
Okay.
Oil.
But where he made his money was in controlling the supply chain.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't just in the extraction. And so, you got to think big, but you need everything that's going to help supply that supply chain.
Right.
And that's endless, you know. And then the creativity from there. I mean, this is just, it's mind-boggling, the opportunities that we have in this industry. And once we become federally decriminalized, the money, because it's all private equity right now. When the institutional investors
there's
start
trillions
in,
on the sideline wanting to jump.
Yeah, I know.
You
Like,
know?
please just make this happen quickly. Which brings me back to my frustrations with Trump and this administration. You got Canada. You got Mexico. You got all these.
You got Canada and three Mexicos.
And 3 Mexicos.
We thought we had it bad, but now we're competing against 3 Mexicos. So.
See, they're just multiplying.
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
That's how Trump with now. Excuse me. We try to not be political, but you know,
what's
wrong?
But we're
me
getting
not
ready to
to be
talk to
political.
you.
No, him and I.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to talk with a very funny person who happened to be you're funny.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? We got to keep plugging that. We think it's going to happen today.
Yep.
But
We'll
post it on our social media and stuff like that, you know, when I get the time confirmed.
Right, make some media.
Yeah.
Did you bring products?
I did bring products.
Yay.
I did.
Oops.
You were talking about seeing through to the ethical core, which made me think about forehead powder, which made me think, did you bring products?
The forehead.
Yes. I did. So I want to show my branding, which this is something that was like in my head. I don't even know how to describe it. I have a friend that grows hemp and is partnered with a hemp manufacturer, and he called me and he said, if you don't launch a Bolivar brand, I will.
Sorry, we're momentarily in the airship.
Oh, what happened? Oh,
Yay.
We were just floating in the clouds?
Well, I think we're going to go above Mexico and see if there's a border wall between the 3 of them.
There
we go. I like that logo. It's nice.
Thank you.
So you drew it?
It was in my head. I worked with a graphic designer, but I just had this.
Like a criminal sketch artist.
I wanted like an emblem, like something like a.
Wait, what's in it? Don't you want to show?
Oh yes. So we have what is that?
Samples for every viewer watching right now?
No. I'm trying to think. What
the
do I wanna
50
show
million
you?
people watching. The Joshes and the Amy's and Nick and, yeah.
So in my
Ginny
bag
Gold,
of
Ginny
goodies,
Gold. Yep.
we have so we launched with 3 product lines. That's an actual sample. These are 2 if you want to play with the products, but that's a balm.
I like the smell.
Thank you. Everything is, all natural, plant essential. That's something that's really important to me because all the brands that I used to work for before, that's what they, promoted. But so we have our muscle rub, which has a eucalyptus and spearmint.
Does it have a roller ball or a pump?
That I'm going to put a roller ball on it because everybody wants a roller ball, and I agree. That would be a great idea. Right now it's a pump.
Yep.
And so
rollerball in 80s,
which is I think my favorite part about having a product line is the creative license that you like. It's just so much creativity. I have a whole bunch of like stuff that I'm looking at now. I'm getting ready to launch a couple more lines that I'm formulating myself and learning about formulations and it's real chemistry. Like you can't just put a whole bunch of stuff in a pot and mix it together. Like if you take one thing out, you have to add that percentage back in. It all can spread apart.
It's a lot of math.
It's a lot of math, which I used to be scared of. But doing this actually makes me less scared of math. And so the muscle rub is created to help support pain management. It works well.
Oh, you can't say that.
Well, actually, that's a big argument.
I know. I'm just joking.
So my advice on the marketing side, because this has been something that we've all had to navigate on this hemp, CBD world, is you can't, I can't say that will
There's no
cure your
CBD.
pain.
You don't have CBD on it either.
No. I had to be tricky.
Oil.
Yeah.
And put 300 milligrams. It's been very costly having to redo labels and reprint labels, and this is what people don't understand in boxes and everything.
And all the MOQs are going up now too.
Yes, yes, it's so much money.
Minimum
so
order
much,
quantities.
Yes, well, and that's actually really important if you want to do mass distribution.
Which we do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's because people, it's you have to show that you can scale.
Right.
And that is something that I've been working on.
Sure.
And so the muscle rub has like a eucalyptus spearmint, and people have been really just they like it. If you want to smell it, smells really good. That's the relief cream that also can help with inflammation, but it's more also intended to spot treat
That's a nice pump though.
That is a great bottle.
Yeah.
What?
Do you want here? I brought that for you guys to if you want to even try it. Yeah. I would put someone here on the back of your hand. It's new, so you may have to give it a few.
That's you could do your whole body.
And then we can do just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, I've got 2 wounds from this morning. Changing my battery. I normally pay people to do that kind of stuff.
You had quite a morning. I'm like, wait a minute.
AutoZone, 7:30. Well, before 7:30.
So it's a really light, smell. It's
No, it's
not
nice.
intended to be like overpowering. And it fades to more like woodsy type of smell. That is.
So I'm sorry, I'm envious.
Well, thank you. I like your I like your brand too. I was just telling him I like this steampunk type of look, but then I'm really into emotional branding. And Veedverks and Amelia it's a story. It tells a story, and people can relate to it. And that's what I like to do with Bolivar Hemp, because again, back to that revolutionary story. Why am I coming out with this and not trying to raise funds? I actually was a partner on a high THC cultivation and licensed cultivation, and in the process of discovery, found out that they had a gray market grow that was raided and didn't tell me, so I backed out of that.
Yeah, definitely.
And so this is my way to reach out, not just to I wanted to reach out to a broader audience. I wanted somebody like my mom, who worked in law enforcement, who's afraid of anything cannabis, to try something. And she's begging, I keep forgetting to send her samples, and she's begging me for samples.
I think there's more people in her life than she realizes that smoke marijuana.
Oh God, I know for sure.
In law enforcement.
Yeah. Well, so interesting. When I moved back to the DC area in like 2009 or 10, the Washingtonian called me to do an article. They were interviewing women in cannabis in the DC area. And that's what they asked me to do, is they asked me to expose all, because they knew I had lots of connections in DC, especially the company I was working at. Sure. And they were like, oh, do you know anybody that smokes weed? That would be like sensational. And I said, I am not ratting out my friends. Are you kidding me? There were a litany of women who were willing to do it in this and other people, but a lot of it was, a lot of the story focused on like soccer moms and stuff. But I wasn't at all, because, you have to respect those relationships. But
Absolutely.
A lot of people really think cannabis prohibition is stupid. Yeah. It's not heroin.
I'm thankful that it was illegal for so many years. We would not be sitting here right now.
That's true, we wouldn't.
But what you said earlier, and I've always said it too, the people that aren't getting the credit for the people that have died and the people that have records and the people still sitting in jail.
Yes.
Those people need to be expunged. Also, any state in America that votes for at least medical marijuana, like here, 50% of the state doesn't smoke marijuana, but they voted for it. We owe it, I think, to the citizens of whatever state we're in to put our best foot forward at all times. Keeping our shops nice, being more community involved, as an industry, and for having such a seasoned industry here in Colorado, there's very little of that.
I mean, right now you have more ego, and people want credit, and people want to rush to the top, and they want to be the king of everything, queen of everything right now. Yeah. But I think, and that's going to happen. But again, I don't want to, beleaguer the issue, but I do want to stress the importance that, we do that. And, I asked this question at a panel recently, because they were talking about, creating certain certification programs and regulations. And I'm all for that. My nonprofit, the Cannabis Consumers Coalition, exposed the pesticide issue here in Colorado, and we were behind radical changes in law, and even helping pass the medical marijuana testing bill because of it. So I support, having testing. I test my products, and it's quite a sticker shock when you do it. Yeah. But it's important, because you have to be able to tell consumers that what they're consuming is what they're indeed consuming.
Absolutely.
And so with that said, my concern is, over-regulating and keeping people out. And people they absolutely use that as a strategy, because it's a sport. Yeah. You're trying to win. What do you do when you're trying to win? You try to, one-up the other person. But some of the people that we're one-upping are people who have taken some hits as fighting in a war. Yep.
Agree.
And so, I've been called entitled because, I didn't go to jail, but I was raided. I had my life completely, that destroyed my life.
I'm sure.
My marriage went completely to hell from there. My PTSD is so severe from those days. Like it's when we were talking about it earlier, I felt that fear again. I was just like shaking. And we have to, it's not a sense of entitlement. These are wounds. These are psychological wounds. Sure. Some of us physical wounds, or like you said, some people who have died, that we have to, reparations is a strong word that people hate, but we have to figure out ways to make sure that these folks are thriving and not become angry and bitter, and we have, there's people, these geneticists and these, who we call OGs, that have created some of the strains that we love, where, the residual income from these strains are endless and the royalties are endless, give them a good opportunity, invest in them. Don't just try to take over their operation and leave them behind because, they're not wearing a suit and tie. Give the honor where, the honor's due. Yeah.
We would sell our show right now for a couple million, wouldn't we? If someone wanted to buy our podcast.
Wanted to buy my brand.
I'm just joking.
No, but I know exactly. You have to have a good exit strategy. That's 100%. Important for business. And I would love to find investors, and I'm working on that now, and partners. And if somebody said, "Hey, I want to buy your brand," and if I had some maybe some say over the marketing component and equity in the company, why not? It's not, you don't have to be greedy. No. What I want is to have what was taken from me. I want a decent retirement. I don't want to struggle while other people are not struggling because they came into the game with more resources that I had when I got in. And it's not because I'm a bad business person. It's because, you know, it was bad timing.
You know, this industry.
Bad luck.
Yeah, it happens to us all. If you've been in this industry and you don't have a bloody nose and a black eye, you know, you're not in this industry. You're not in this industry. You're not.
You've got to have skin in this game.
And there's no other industry I would ever want to represent.
I mean, that's why, look, I even got my rough and tumble boots on. See?
Oh, man, too bad we don't have Vicente on right now.
I know, right?
We got Vicente's boots over there. No fucking wall. Can we get him to say that without saying those words?
Oh, God.
Why can't he say no fucking?
No, can we get him to say that without us telling him to say that? We have to
agitate him.
Well, we have to give him a question where that has to be the answer.
And then
if Donald Trump was in between us right now talking, what would you tell him about the wall?
And then I'll be like,
no fucking wall, and then you take his boots.
And I'll be like, those are my favorite boots.
Can you grab those boots and we can show the people what they look like?
The precursor of this afternoon's show.
See, you know, this is what.
Vicente Fox gave boots to someone that had that, right?
Yeah.
Who was it?
Conan O'Brien.
Oh, Conan. He was on Conan O'Brien's show. He gave him boots with that.
That's awesome. See?
So I'll be like, yeah. And just jump up with the boots on.
And then they'll be like, no fucking wall.
I've been planning this gag for a long time.
Yeah.
Those are nice boots.
Yeah. Well,
they're broken
not too
in.
much anymore, though.
Not too. Well, no,
unless
that's
you
the
just
point.
want to wear them like that.
Huh?
That's funny. I would.
I don't wear them.
You know, my sister and my brother-in-law. So my sister
That's what I'm wearing today.
is, you know, she looks very Peruvian, and my brother-in-law is blonde hair, blue-eyed, white guy. And for Halloween, he dressed as Trump, and she dressed as a Mexican jumping over a wall with like a sombrero.
Really?
Yeah, she said, and this is in Northern Virginia, where it's super conservative, all military.
Yeah,
So my sister said people
very Republican.
If they supported or if they didn't, she said they didn't even know how to react. They were like, it was so off the wall, and I was like, only those two, because they're so their humor is dark.
But it's funny. But it's funny.
So I have three more products to show, and this is where we start branching into more of like the luxury skincare line. Body care is hemp CBD infused sugar scrubs with vitamin A, B, C, E. Sugar, because sugar is better for sensitive skin.
Okay.
And so this is kept in mind. This is made, you know, with
I'm sorry, are you saying sugar?
Sugar.
Yeah, that's
not like hemp sugar.
That's how
Like
they say it in
sugar.
Middle Mexico.
Azúcar. Azúcar. And so
Beautiful.
it smells. Yeah. These are samples. So
My buddy owns.
They're not.
Florida
new.
sea salts.
Yeah.
He does it with salt.
Well, you can. It's just this is
That
better.
smells
This
good.
is easier on sensitive
No,
skin.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, does
use
does the sugar get absorbed though?
It dissolves or rinses off.
Oh, cool.
You know, it doesn't.
I mean,
have the high,
I'd rather have sugar dissolved on my skin than a bunch of salt, especially at my age.
Run out of the shower, all wired from sugar. Keep away from children. Anyhow, cucumber lemongrass is our number one seller, and
It smells good.
Yeah, this is, and the lemongrass I like because as opposed to lemon, you know, it's very citrusy. Lemongrass still has like a green smell to it, and it leaves a really nice after scent. Then we have lavender rose, which I'm gonna open the sugar scrub because I think that'll. Oh wait, did I bring one? I don't think I did. I did. I left the tea tree in the. Oh, this one's sealed. Oops. Okay. I thought I can't. I need readers.
It's natural.
Yes.
Oh, here.
Well, no, because I can't see the plastic. This one's sealed. I brought
that's
sealed.
Yeah.
We seal them now to send out. But here's tea tree. So lavender rose, and then here's tea tree. The tea tree was made with men in mind because it's in your hair.
Is that
product.
a mineral? Melamine?
This is like a test. It's a litmus test. Are you man enough?
Are you man enough?
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of tea tree, and tea tree is good.
I like it.
Yeah, it's very refreshing. All of it's, you know, meant to have a nice. They're complementary. So everything comes with.
It's a good brand, a good looking brand too.
Thank you.
I like the logo.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
I can't believe that we had a booth across from each other at Indo Expo.
I loved it.
And
you were there?
I didn't.
Yeah.
You had a booth?
That whole time.
I missed out on NOCO because it sold out so quick. I was like, whoa, I need to do this way earlier next time.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Okay, I see all the love being shared about NOCO. Don't have it at that place again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At that hotel.
There wasn't enough parking.
It was horrible from that standpoint. As far as I had to Uber. Both times, yeah.
Oh, wow.
You couldn't find parking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had friends that for over an hour were trying to park, and they ended up going either to the Wendy's or just going far away and Ubering in.
You know, that's actually because I was going to go on the consumer day, and
Excuse me.
I'm teaching a class on Friday on licensing, on SOPs and compliance.
Oh, nice.
I go from like,
Kansas City,
the sexy
Missouri?
product conversation to like the very serious, boring cannabis. But you know,
It's very important.
that's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important. You know, I think it's really cute because the other day I was working on just a small writing project, and the person that sent me the writing project, it was more on the marketing side, said SOP for, article, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. Everybody's using SOP terms everywhere now, but it's good because if we get that cadence going, it becomes a regular thing.
Hey, man.
It's just legitimate. Oh, look, there's Vicente. He's done.
Waiting for the email. Just waiting for the email.
So
Do you think I have time to get forehead powder between now and then?
yes,
I would
if you
highly
go to-
recommend that because you know what?
Sephora's
It
or
looks like the
Ulta.
sun's coming through.
Sorry.
Look at that shiny head of yours.
I didn't mean to make you self-conscious.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, he's not. No, he's
Yeah. Julie's gonna come in and he's gonna have that translucent. You want to get the white translucent powder.
White translucent
Yeah,
powder.
all it does is it just masks the shine.
Perfect.
Unless you want to change the red skin tones, and then there's different types of powders that can go from there. I miss doing makeup.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That's what I love about having the product line is actually, when I had the booth at Indo Expo and actually working one-on-one with consumers again that's my passion. I miss doing that a lot. Like I've been a lot of B2B type work lately, and I don't mind that, but it took me away from why I'm passionate about cannabis. And it's, somebody coming in and get, trying the muscle rub at Indo Expo, coming back and half an hour later, I want one. And then I want one from my mom and my dad and my grandma too.
Yeah.
That. And
I like the Indo Expo.
yeah. And then being able to promote and educate on hemp. And, really just getting on the endocannabinoid system. And, when I was getting my psychology degree, which was in 2008, is when I started it. So one of the years I had to take a biopsychology class, and the book was like this big. And the endocannabinoid system, which is responsible for homeostasis, which you would think is important, especially for psychology, was only like this much of a paragraph in a book that was like this thick.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of education. And it's really interesting, having booths in, areas where cannabis isn't as popular, like in a market.
Sure.
And seeing, old ladies with like crosses, like somebody that you would sit next to in church, walk by your table and see that you have a hemp product and literally be like, walk like so far away, like the hemp's gonna jump out and like the devil himself is gonna possess them. So there's those that we have to reach out to. It's really a lot of work.
But to clarify, I was talking about NOCO parking, not Endo.
That
NOCO.
parking was pretty bad too. Oh, I totally went off on a tangent, didn't I?
No.
I was going to talk about the parking though.
No.
One of the reasons why I didn't go to
NOCO?
to NOCO was because I was working on this project that I'm teaching on Friday. And when I saw a couple people post about parking, and then I thought about the crowds, and I was like, I got to get this work done. And if I go, and if it's going to take me an hour to park, that's 2 additional hours. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
So I agree. It should be much. But
Denver
I'm sure,
Convention Center or go back up to Loveland?
well, and they didn't even expect. They had to move from Fort Collins.
Yeah.
right?
No.
to-
Just out Loveland. Why they had to move?
Because it was bigger than they had planned. I think it just was that big. Hemp just got legalized federally.
Yeah, I know,
So
but still,
everybody
the
wants
other
hemp.
place was still the one up there was much bigger.
Yeah.
They
or
still-
maybe people didn't want to drive up there.
I don't know, dude. NOCO was big this year.
I thought it was bigger last year.
Really?
I thought it had more attendance.
Really?
Well, I thought it was bigger the year before.
Well,
I don't know. Let's put it out to the audience.
what do you guys think? When was NOCO?
We love
big?
NOCO. Don't get us wrong. I just
saw,
think they need to get Denver Convention Center, and that says it all right there. You have all
I love the whole hemp community. Like it's interesting because it's such a it's going to solve so many more problems. It's going to be a larger industry.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to see the interplay between the farmers and I agree. Like I heard one person say that, we need less CBD and more, it's the hemp grown for all the other industrial purposes that it can be, the fiber.
It costs so much money, though.
It costs so
You've
much
got
money.
some corporations that are starting to come in, but until it's federally legal in all 50 states and you can transport it, no one's going to put $1 billion into an operation to start making hemp boards for houses. You know?
It's that
or it's
much
going to be
money.
just on a small scale. They're doing it now, but on a very small scale. One day, it's like us looking back, prohibition. Wow, alcohol was illegal. What are you talking about? And hopefully it's the same thing about our industry 80 years from now.
I think so. It'll be very interesting. It'll be interesting to see who comes in and how it all.
I think everybody's coming in. If you've got a cement factory, then guess what? You're going to be the hemp business, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
You're just gonna it doesn't make any sense to know a lot about hemp and decide to make a giant cement factory if you can just start with the giant cement factory. You got the machines, all the stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So, big
Plastic.
cement's coming. Hempcreters.
Biodegradable plastic. Yeah.
Batteries. I want to see what they're talking about.
Cars.
Batteries. Because they're saying, I don't know what part of the hemp or how it's done. I'm not a scientist, but they're supposed to be really good. Some of the ones in development right now.
I don't know about hemp battery. Who, or do anybody on here? in the ether.
Somebody knows something about a hemp battery?
Hemp batteries.
Yeah.
No.
I was talking to, on my Air Force Academy class, graduation Facebook page thing. I was put out a call, is there anybody that I went to school with teaching engineering at the Air Force Academy right now?
And
yeah, there are. And so we've been
that's a great
talking
idea.
about Bryn Gone. I wish I had a picture of it. Racer Bryn Gone just made a hemp composite, or had somebody make hemp composite wheel hub covers for his car, which is awesome. And I saw one of them at NOCO. I didn't even expect it, but anyway, so it got me thinking. You could make propellers out of that stuff. Or try it, and who better to try it than the Air Force
Lightweight,
Academy?
Durable.
Fire up those engineering students.
California,
it'll be
the homes
major.
that every couple years get burned down to the ground. At least Shell would be there. I would imagine.
Yeah, the Shell would be there. Something. Yeah. Well, no, because hemp. I mean, if your whole house is built out of hemp, it's going to make it pretty fireproof.
Right.
If you've got hempcrete, insulation, hemp floors, hemp.
You need hemp windows.
On the floors. You would need, because windows explode.
Yeah,
so fireballs
because fire
will
will go in.
So you need hemp furniture with hemp fabric.
I'd like a pair of size 30 hemp jeans.
Yes,
Yeah.
They only went down to 32 at NOCO is all I could find.
Really?
Oh man, I have a few hemp articles. I'm a woman, so we have lots of clothes. Or maybe I do, but yeah, hemp's great because at first it's kind of a tough material and then it softens. Oh my god, it's so soft.
I would love a hemp
nice.
suit, but a nice hemp suit.
Well, no, there's soft hemp too already. Yes. Yeah.
Make some kind of resolution about it.
Is it called a Texas tuxedo?
I don't know what a Texas
the
tuxedo
blue
is.
jacket and blue jeans,
Oh,
or cowboy tuxedo.
yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So jeans and boots and a jacket.
And a jean jacket.
Yeah.
And a cowboy hat?
And a cowboy hat.
Oh, and a
jean
jacket,
what's
not
that
a
thing
suit
you
coat.
called?
No, I wanted a suit. It's like
with
an
the
Italian
stone.
one.
What's
Yeah.
that thing you called?
Oh, rhinestone.
Bolo.
Bolo?
Bolo, yeah, with the bolo and a belt buckle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all hemp. Well, hemp leather.
Well,
But the possibilities are endless, and
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think that we have a lot going on, and I think that we just have to just full steam ahead. I think the more people that use hemp products, the more people that create hemp products that provide hemp products, the more people will adapt to it, and the faster we'll be able to attract the money that's necessary. But I agree, it would have to be federally. Well, it is federally legalized.
But rules and regulations, and not over-regulated, but regulated enough where you don't have the issues that we have.
Well, in Georgia, I heard that their requirements were for, it's $100,000 non-renewable application fee to do hemp processing, and they're only issuing, I think, 3 to 5 licenses.
See,
that's not cool. I'm going to interject my opinion before you can even say something.
But it's true. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and the new Florida governor, which I love, who I hated the other one, disliked the other one. Anyways, he smokable, yes. Yeah. And he's the first one to say Florida is set up like a cartel, and so is New York, and there's other companies, states out there like that. You shouldn't have, only 20 licensees that can have the whole state. That should have been, for a state as big as Florida, it should have been several thousand licenses given out from, I don't know about complete vertical or, vertical, but a lot more people taking part in the spirit of America, which is really the entrepreneurial spirit.
Cannabis is unique policy-wise. So my master's in public policy with a concentration in cannabis policy reform. Like I literally, every paper I wrote, and I designed the degree at Regis University, which is a Jesuit liberal arts school. And so I studied the evolution of the industry and the policy around the industry and how that all kind of came together. And what's unique in cannabis, well, it's not unique. Most industries write the regulations now, but you have people who legalize cannabis who are now business consultants who now lobby for regulations for their paid business, for the people who are paying them to do so. So they're creating regulations and saying, hey, well, Mr. and Mrs. Lawmaker, you're very fearful of cannabis, so why don't we restrict it? And then if we only allow these people who have access to $10 million liquid capital, who has that sitting around?
It's wrong. No matter how you slice and dice it, it's absolutely. Oregon, too much so. Florida, way cartel state. But see, Oregon would be fixed if they could ship out of state. Because weed grow there. It grows well in certain regions there. Where cannabis likes to grow, it likes a higher humidity with lower temperatures, 70, no more than 80. Because then that's when you get your mites and you start getting other problems. And when it's too dry, it gets even worse. If it's too moist and too hot, you get mold and mildew. So there is a sweet spot. And so Northern California, Southern Oregon, even parts of Washington, it's a great place for cannabis. Especially when you're looking at these multi-hybrid cultivars. You have your land races that grow better. Some grow better at the equator, some grow better in mountains, drier regions. It just seems to be a sweet spot. So if you opened up, imports and exports within states are going to grow, hemp, certain seeds, certain cultivars grow well in certain temperate, and we'll see it all shift once it's federally decriminalized on the cannabis high THC side. I think we'll see a lot of changes there too, but for now it is unfair that a lot of people came to the market early who were able to pay people to create laws and regulations to support their businesses, and it is what it is. But I don't know how that's going to change, because now you have all these businesses that have already spent millions of dollars in licensing and in building out their operations. I mean, you can't build out a cannabis operation for less than $2 million if you want to even be competitive, even on the dispensary side, on the license side, because you've got your tens of thousands of dollars in licensing fees, then you have to pay people to write the application, then you have to have cash burn for 6 months at least to get yourself operational, which is like other businesses. But what makes cannabis unique, Mexico will not pay. What makes cannabis unique is that, again, we don't have the institutional investors coming in, and we don't have access to loans. It's not easy for me to get a business loan or other people. So, people are being shut out from the beginning, and that is a business strategy. And so we have to figure out, how do we fix that? Part of what I do on the policy side is I have the Cannabis Consumers Coalition and try to empower consumers to really let them understand that they can vote with their dollar. That may not even be enough. Sometimes I've sat in stakeholder groups. There's a former lawmaker here in Colorado when we were working on the caregiver bill on plant counts, and I came in with all this data showing that
diversion was happening from branded companies, and the USPS shows this data shows this, and she looked at me and she's like, I'm not going to deny that this bill is being made from an assertion. And on the other side are a lot of industry stakeholders and law enforcement, and
you can't be a caretaker now in Colorado.
You can be a caregiver still. Okay. Yeah.
Caregiver.
So the industry.
I like caregiver.
What's okay? So you're a businessman.
Yeah.
So you're looking out for your bottom line. So you're going to want to squash all competition, and part of your competition are people growing for themselves. I grow for myself. I don't have, even now, I don't have to go out and buy weed, because between my neighbor and myself, we grow enough to last until right at the beginning of summer. And then we'll have to start buying some, but then we're growing again to make up for that. Right. People don't want that. People want me to come to their store and buy their product, which I still do, because what's interesting about cannabis is that you can build a tolerance to certain strains. And in order to overcome that, you go try another one. Yeah. And you can only grow so many. And so, there's ways to work around that, but it's in the industry's interest to shut out home grows. But, I think cannabis should be like growing tomatoes. I grow fruit and vegetables, and then when I run out or when I want something different, I go to the store.
I saw that dog the other day. I love that dog.
Smart Colorado.
No, I love that dog though.
I didn't even say that.
He's so cute.
I laughed so hard. I think I posted that I spit out my apple
cops
that I was eating, and I did.
And every time there's anything to do with cannabis, Smart Colorado shows up.
Oh, we lost it.
Oh, we did? Oh, gosh.
I think that dog's so cute.
Let me fix that.
Oh, my goodness. I would even own it.
There.
Aww, because everybody would love it. They'd be like, oh, he's so ugly.
Huh? His name's Steven.
I just think he's cute as hell. Or she, whatever.
Ooh, their social use. Their argument against social use. Protect the children. Protect the children by having everybody smoking weed in the streets. That makes no sense to me.
Well, I think we had one of our best shows.
I do too.
Really?
Yeah, it was a great show.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great conversation.
Oh, you didn't smoke weed with us. I was about to say it was all the weed we smoked, but you didn't partake.
Never do. Only after hours.
Only after hours.
Or on weekends.
On weekends. That's kind of after hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I never stop working though. I work a lot. What I love about having my own business is being able to work whenever I feel like it. If I feel like working from 7 to 4 a.m., it just depends on what I have going on the next, day. Or I can wake up at 4 and work the rest of the day. Anyhow.
So does it look like we'll be working today at 4:30
I don't know.
or not?
We will definitely let our
coming on or not.
We'll let our one listener know.
We have one listener right now?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll say, 5 million people watching us right now.
People got bored.
They oughta.
I know.
We got between now and 4:30 to hype the shit out of this until we get Vicente Fox.
Exactly. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Think about all the effort it took to make cowboy boots. I've been looking at these boots for weeks now.
Yeah.
Improving them.
Well, when I get up to the office, I'll definitely put that phone call out and say, I need a time now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Let's get that
done.
done.
And then we'll start.
We thank you so much for coming to the show.
You.
Yeah, thanks, Larissa. This is a real pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Travis, always a pleasure.
Yeah. So we'll hopefully see you guys at
4:30 Mountain Standard Time. We'll see.
We no need no fucking wall.
We're going to find out. I think he's going to drop it. The bomb. The F-bomb. I mean, it's easy to
so we need props, dude.
Well, it's really easy.
We got to make some props.
What? You just see a piece of paper, a wall, another piece of paper, a rickety ladder, another piece of paper, a stick man on the ladder climbing the wall, and then you ask him to get him to say, what's your opinion on the wall, President Fox?
So draw the picture instead of just asking him his opinion on the wall.
Whatever. It really doesn't matter.
That would be funny.
We're just going to have fun with it.
Watch this show.
Well, yeah. We try to just have fun.
I can email you the picture of my sister and her husband. My sister dressed as the wall.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it. Well,
she's going to be like, what the hell?
I've got to run. soon. About later this afternoon, Vicente Fox is going to be on. He's in Vegas right now. I shouldn't have shouted that out.
Now all of his security is scrambling.
Yeah, I know. That damn Miller. Miller. Everyone have a beautiful day.
All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
All right. That was great.
Yeah. That was our longest show.
Was it?